they have not been letting people into this room for a while. I just tried to get us switched to a bigger room, but they like their room.
They really should have had you in a big one.
Okay, so after all of this, you guys are all going to text or email Craig and say that, more people needed to be in here because this is going to be an amazing panel. What we've got is all 6 towards 7 figure authors, and we are going to be talking about business practices in 2022, what these ladies did. We are going to be talking, I know it's billed as an RH panel because they're all RH authors, and we will touch on some tropes, but raise your hand if you're not an RH author here. Not yet. Okay. Not yet. Okay. We will talk about some tropes, but they're very applicable to other romance genres as well. So, to get started, my name is Alex Lidell. I see a lot of you guys here from yesterday's workshop, so thank you for coming back. I'm the author of Power of 5, which was my entry into the reverse harem market. And so that did very well when it came out. It was in about top 20 on the Amazon store. And what we have today for you, though, is this panel has been specially assembled because, as I said, all of these are 6 towards 7 figure authors, but they all had a different year of 2022. So we are specifically assembled so that you can hear from very different perspectives. So specifically, let's start. Katie May, who is probably best known for Monsters, right?
Yeah.
And Monsters, which is Dracula's daughter gets sent to Reform Academy. And things ensue. We're on camera, lady. Yes, but that's the same thing. So Katie she's a pretty fast writer, but Katie was able to almost double her income in 2022 versus 2021 with very little reliance on ads. So we're going to be hearing a lot from Katie in other than ads, but they go a huge difference. We have Angel Lawson. Not and Angel is especially known for Lords of Pain, which is a dark bully college romance. And Angel and the book did hit #1 in the store.
The third book hit.
The third book hit #1 in the entire Kindle store. And
wow.
And what we really want to leverage here is she made Kickstarter work for her very well, and we're really going to be picking her brain a lot about how she leveraged that as a big level up in her income. Ginna Moran is Naughty Lessons, which is a Megaverse book. It's got your tropes, it's got age gap, it's got professor-student, and what she has been leveraging is connections. Leveraging is a fine word. Dirty mind. She has leveraged author networking. So when we're going to be talking to Katie, Katie's leveraging her reader network. And she's doing a lot of engagement. Ginna is leveraging the author network, organizing shared worlds, networking. She is also our queen of in-person networking. So to give you an idea of the level that she's at there, last year she managed to sell one of her books to the bellboy barons while he was on the backs for his girlfriend. Nice. All right? So what we're really going to be focusing, asking Ginna is how she's leveraging the author network, and also for some help with how to handle the book sales aspect in person, which we are going to see Friday. Raise your hand if you're going to be selling some books Friday. Excellent. Now raise your hand if it feels really awkward when somebody kind of comes to your table and doesn't make eye contact. Yeah, she's going to help us with that. And then we have Britt Andrews, who is very well known for Emerald Lakes, which is a small town curvy girl romance who gets her harem of spies. And especially for the authors here who've been, who it's not your first year and you've been doing a while and sustainability becomes a question. So Britt is here because for reasons, she was able to release one book in 2022 and she pretty much doubled her income still from 2021. Wow. Yeah, so we're leveraging that. Now, to start with, however, and to let you know, we are...
What about you?
What? I'm the moderator.
But you were focusing on everybody else's gifts, and what about you?
My gift is getting to talk to all of you guys. My gift is getting you to come back into the room and making everybody else feel bad about what they missed. Because after this, you're all going to go out and say, well, those RH authors, they've got it all together. And this is what all the cool kids are doing, and make everybody feel horrible about one putting us into a small room. Not getting here early. All right? As we did last year in our sessions, we are going to work it this way. I'm going to ask the authors questions. I have some pre-planned questions that I want to ask and really dig in, and then we'll have time for questions, and I will moderate how the questions go and who to go to. So, but first, ladies, this is an RH panel, and one thing, but it's also a high, kind of an advanced panel, and one of the things that we've all been hearing is about butter or universal fantasies, that these are things that make the reader feel good in a story, and that give the reader this shot of dopamine, and that make the book very attractive and very sellable. So, Angel, let me start with you. Can you, especially when it comes to reverse harem, where you have, let's say, 4 guys in a harem, how do you apply universal fantasies, and how, or?
Okay, this is a hard one, guys, but, so, I'm going to have a lot of talk about it. But if you do or don't know, sometimes universal fantasy, aka butter, is a little hard to understand. But the way I work it out is you have your harem, and you have your men, and then each of your men have a, characteristics, whatever, like one's your alpha, one's your cinnamon roll, one's your, I don't know, your criminal. And,
can you speak up a
yes,
little bit?
Sorry. And each one, you try to find something to pull down where their interactions with the female character, usually individually, that sets them apart and makes your heart go flutter and makes you fall in love with them. And one example we came up with is in my Duke series, which is after Lords. We have the big, gruff, angry guy, and he ends up having this very, emotional connection with a kitten. And that kitten is the girl's kitten, and she loves it, and he hates it, but he really loves it, and we know he loves it.
So the butter is big, gruff, angry guy, but loves a cute little kitten. That's the butter.
And that's the moment you're like, oh, maybe he's not so bad because he loves kittens.
What about like if I have a cinnamon roll character or an artistic guy in my harem? What might be a butter moment that we could use?
Like drawing her,
Ooh.
or tattooing her, or whatever his thing is, like whatever his medium, he would need to apply that to.
What about a caretaker?
Oh, the caretaker is all about the making sure she's well fed, or if she's sick, holding her hair back, or bringing soup.
Okay, so that's something. So notice that what she What Angel is talking about is the universal fantasy. What we're putting on the page is that specific illustration, right? The kitten, the drawing that the character did. The universal fantasy is not that there's a gruff guy. The universal fantasy is this gruff guy holding a kitten. The universal fantasy is not in general that there's an artistic guy in the harem. It is that it is the symbol, the outward symbol. All right, now let's do a lightning round. I want to do for the 3 rounds. I want to know what is, give me an example of one of your favorite buttery or universal fantasy things to use.
Touch her and I.
Touch her and I.
Encouraging sexual openness and enjoyment.
Like the biggest, meanest guy in the harem draws her a bubble bath.
Oh, yes.
Giving gifts.
Giving gifts. Very good if they're rich giving gifts or just personal gifts. Personal gifts. We are all very open and accepting in this room. And we also make lots of money in this room. So.
Aftercare. Some guys make a mess. They're going to clean her up. Always.
Always nice.
Like the found family feeling, maybe someone who's from like a broken home finally, gets that family that they've always been looking for.
Cool. Thank you. Now let me jump in with some specific questions. So that was kind of our tribute specifically to our age, and now we're switching over. We're going to be talking about business practices. Again, these authors are reverse harem authors, but I think you will find these business practices just like they apply in the reverse harem, they apply in whatever you're doing. So, Britt, I wanted to start with you because that really rang for me when you said that, hey, I was only able to publish 1 book. I'm a much slower writer, so all of you who write book in a month or a week under a deadline, but I cannot do that, and that has been a source of a lot of anxiety for me. So when I heard that, for whatever reasons, you were only able to release 1 book and still grow your business, can you give me some examples of what specifically you did in that year that made an impact?
So I opened a merch shop. Through my website. I started a Patreon.
Sorry, when you mean you opened a shop, what does it sell?
Oh, anything and everything. T-shirts, tumblers, bookmarks, coasters, pop sockets.
And do you have to package that all yourself?
I do not, which is fantastic.
So you created an agreement with somebody
Yes,
who's going to do fulfillment for you.
Yes, I found a local lady who was already in a business where she does vinyl stuff and makes tumblers, and I basically formed a partnership with her, and so it's been great.
Yeah, and the technical term, so she knows her person specifically, but drop shipping. So lots of companies will do that where customer orders from you, but really the supplier sends it over. Yeah. All right, so you opened a storefront selling actually merchandise on your books. What else? Was there anything else you did?
I opened a signed bookshop on my website.
Okay.
That's only open periodically, and I had alternate covers made for my best-selling series. The day that those dropped, I made $18,000.
And what about, speaking of really monetizing things we don't usually monetize, I hear that you managed to monetize ARCs using Patreon. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so, after, growing over the first year, I, did the ARC team, I did all of this, and I found it very stressful. I don't want to chase people down for reviews. So as my readership grew, the reviews became organic. I didn't have to chase people anymore, so when I started my Patreon, I have this, it's the 2nd level tier, it's $15 a month, and that's how you get an ARC from me. And I only published 1 book this year. But I'm always very clear about this is my life. I'm very open about this is what you can expect. If you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth, then I completely understand, and that's fine.
So while the rest of us are please review the free book I sent you? She's like, yeah, how much are you going to pay me? Of possibly once a year, getting my book for you to review for me on Amazon, right? Very nice. And so I'm hearing making special editions books that you're selling directly. I'm hearing merchandise. I'm hearing Patreon. Was translation at all a
Yes.
part of your, and what language did you go into?
German. Yes.
And if you had to do it again, is that the language you would pick to start with?
Probably. I think the German market is a good place to start just because it is one of the larger markets. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's very expensive, but I don't regret it.
So, well, thank you. Let me jump to, all right, since we did touch Patreon, so I feel like I want to jump to Angel because we talked about Kickstarter.
Yes.
So can you please, can you tell me from running a successful Kickstarter, can you tell me, one, let me ask you first, how did your expectations of what was going to happen match the reality of what actually happened?
Well, it was hard to have an expectation just because it was such an unknown. We decided that we wanted to do special editions. I'll start back. We started the Kickstarter because people wanted book plates, and we could not fulfill the number of book plates that the readers wanted.
And what's a book plate?
Which is a sticker with me and my co-author sign it. Since we're not in the same place, that's the best way to get signatures, and you just stick it in the inside of the book. And we offered these for free for about a year at just various intervals, like after releases, and we would send out to about 250 to 500 people, and it just was very hard to keep up with that. Like as soon as we would close it, more people would want them. So we were sort of like, how do we meet this need? But then also just sort of, and then what else can we do? And we looked at Patreon and stuff, and
Or how do we monetize this need?
it wasn't because we didn't mind giving this sticker.
All right,
away
we
for
will
free.
all look at it as how do we monetize?
No, but let
the
me explain. By giving away these for free, it endeared the readers to us. And everything that we did these steps, that by the time we did the Kickstarter, what we could not anticipate is we knew people wanted the books and the stickers and the extras. We knew this, but what we didn't know is that they were going to rally behind us and sell this for us.
So how did the expectations? What did you hope your Kickstarter was?
So we needed $20,000 a minimum, and we made $20,000 in 3 minutes.
Hours?
Minutes.
Minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, did you shut it down after 3 minutes?
Then we what?
Did it shut down after 3 minutes? What happened next?
So then, and by the end, we started it at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and by about 11 p.m. Eastern Time, we were at over $60,000.
Wow.
And then the Kickstarter lasts for a month, and it's usually really big for like day 1 and 2, and then it kind of levels off, and then you offer like extra perks and the bonus stuff, and you just keep building on it, which is a whole other Kickstarter thing, which you can go to the Kickstarter panels and talk about. But it ultimately, after 30 days, ended up ending at about 115,000. 115,000. So yeah,
So-
and it's around there. So I'm gonna, and then we kind of there's some others.
So it was 6 figures that you got.
Yes.
So if I got it correctly, from giving away, even though I was quick about it, but really, from giving away these book plates, what you already knew is that you had an audience who was hungry for personalized, individualized things from you. So you knew that. And you expected that it to translate into Kickstarter, and it exceeded your expectations, and you ended up with a six-figure result from that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who should we go to next? All right, Katie. Can you The specifically interesting thing about you is that, now we do know you write quickly, but the sheer growth of your business between 2021 and 2022, or in 2022, was nearly double. And when we're talking about, you know, six-figure ranges, double is a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you're not doubling from $10 to $20. You're doubling a lot. Can you tell us about some of the, can you give me 3 very specific things you did in 2022 that you had not done previously that were part of this building block? Because it wasn't any one thing, right? It was a building block for you.
Yeah, I started Facebook ads in 2022, or this is 2022, I forget the year.
You just started Facebook ads this year.
Oh, well, technically it was December, but yeah. I started Facebook ads after actually 20Books. I met someone and that's how I started it. And then I started doing audiobooks. I started the process of getting my backlist into audiobooks. That was just something I hadn't overly thought about. But I decided to take the initiative and find narrators and hire people. So that was one of the things I did. And then, like Britt, I opened up a shop on my website where I would, you know, sell merchandise and sign books and book plates, and I made pretty easily 5 figures just doing that. I only opened it for 1 month.
You just kept it open for 1 month?
Yeah, about 1 month, a couple weeks.
Now, how about when you said you started Facebook ads? Is this a situation where really, I was never doing ads before, I started ads, lo and behold, I made more money? Is that really the huge, big, significant thing? Or
No.
what's the percentage for you from how much you invest into ads to your total revenue? What's the percentage?
Probably about 10% of what I invest, 10% I invest into Facebook ads.
So, now, last year, the big difference about you was your interaction with readers.
Yeah.
Do you continue to interact with readers?
Yes, yes.
And how often would you say you are on what platform interacting?
Yeah, I usually focus on Facebook, so I'm usually on my Facebook page, you know, probably like 3 or 4 times every hour, responding to messages.
Sorry, 3 or 4 times a day?
No, every hour.
Every hour you're there.
Yeah.
How many hours?
Every day. I will wake up at like 1 in the morning and be like, oh, I need to check my messages. So yeah, I do it pretty often. Respond to comments, respond to messages. Yeah.
Is that in a Facebook group or?
Yeah, I have a Facebook group. That's mostly what I focus on. I try to do like this kinship community feeling. So I want my readers to feel very comfortable reaching out to me, talking to me. I want them to feel comfortable posting. So I really have like this like close knit group. I'm reaching about 9,000 members in my group, and you know, a lot of them feel comfortable reaching out, messaging me, and posting, and telling me funny things, and like.
Do you specifically, because we've heard kind of 2 things. We've heard, hey, you're an author, you only present author stuff,
Yeah.
or you're a human being, so present, you know, selected portions of your personal life. Which camp are you?
Well, yeah, this year I've been trying to do more personal. I've been trying to like post more about my life, more pictures, more, hey, this is what I'm doing today. Hi guys, you know, oh, I'm writing today. Just to, again, make that like personal feel in my group where, you know, they feel like they're, you know, meeting a friend. And that really helps with reader loyalty. So if I, you know, write a different genre, you know, I know my readers are going to follow me from genre to genre because, you know, I have that loyalty.
Because really they are not they're almost like your readers versus like
it's
consumers
not
of your
genre
book.
readers, it's my readers. Yeah.
So it sounds like you had a few building blocks from different things. You know, a little bit came from ads, a lot came from your interactions, right? And also the translations and the direct sales.
Yeah.
So it was a building block. It wasn't any one thing. It was a building block of all those things this year.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Britt, Ginna, you managed to network authors, and because you're incredible and extroverted and make things happen. Can you talk about I actually have 2 questions to you. One is, can you talk about something that you did this year that really leveraged your author connections, and then I'll ask you about the book sales next.
Okay, so first, unlike Katie, I like to set boundaries for my readers so that I can catch a break, and I like to focus on networking and making close professional connections in the author community. And this can be done online. I prefer to do a lot in person. So I will always look for events, and I will travel. And even if certain authors aren't going to the events, I will either message them, cold call message them and say, hey, I'm in your area, you want to have a drink or you want to have lunch. And through these relationships, I've expanded my reader base by sharing, because with RH readers, you know, they're ferocious, they're dragon readers, and they will read books, several books a day sometimes. And so through these connections, I have teamed up with quite a few different authors to build certain shared worlds, but also Facebook groups, so, and TikToks. So using these connections, we are sharing readers and all leveling up together.
Can you kind of break that down for me a little bit? What do you mean, like, all right, so I have books, you have books, how are we going to share readers beyond, you know, just posting in our group, hey, I've got this friend if you want to read her books?
So we do a lot of more genre. I write across a lot of genres of RH. I wrote Omegaverse, I broke out into contemporary, I'm heavy into paranormal, and so I actually have different groups of people in these different areas. And I bring them together. So basically I'm like, hey, I have somebody I want you to meet. And that's how I start these connections.
And what do we do after we met? Okay, now I know you know it.
Then that's when I start pitching ideas. I like to pitch. I'm naturally a salesperson. Before I was writing, I did dog training. But, okay, but with the dog training, I wasn't selling the class, I was selling myself. So when I don't sell my books, I like to sell myself as a person, and I will find something that we have a connection, and this goes also with like the readers. I find out what we have, this like the similarities, and then I build our relationship from that point.
Okay, but how, all right, you, now I know you, right? How are you, and except I just know you, so how is this relationship going to leverage in terms of both of us selling more books? Because
Okay, so
I'm not buying you, so how are we going to do this?
So what I do is I have several different groups, several different chats with particular people that I introduce to each other, and I'll say, hey, like I have a book that's similar to yours. How would you guys feel about running a Facebook group together? And
so you can share, so you can do a social place where readers come and both your readers come, my readers come.
And with one in particular, I manage a really big group with Katie, Reverse Harem Readers, but I also have another one which is Reverse Harem Books and Readers. And with them, like all of our groups, all of their members, they get automatic access to the group. So they don't have to answer questions. Like if they're part of a group, they already have that. Like,
And that's what brings the readership.
And that's what brings everybody together.
What about the idea of shared worlds?
Shared
Can you,
worlds.
yeah, can you talk a little bit about what a shared world is and how that might help
shared
several
world-
authors?
Shared worlds can be very tricky because working with others
What is
tricky.
first?
A shared world is writing each individual books in a world that we have created together. For example, I'm actually in this shared world with Alex. And so I teamed up with Alex and a couple other authors in this world, and we had a foundation. So I helped create this foundation, and I already was writing in Omegaverse, and I saw the influx of the big wave coming. So I said, hey, how about we all team up for this shared world and we give the reader something. They like standalones in Omegaverse. So something that can also cross over to all of our books.
So we all only have to write one book, but we get the benefit of everybody else's kind of common branding. And what about characters? Can we have our characters and appear in another person's book?
Yes. So we do have small crossover characters that we all have to read each other's parts to make sure we're getting like their voice and their characters right. And that also brings readers over. But another benefit of the shared world is through advertising. If we each advertise our books, it actually elevates all of them at once. So individually, the money we spend is actually less, but it still grows that readership, which is also another benefit.
And Angel, am I right? You've also used the tactic of introducing characters in one book, like having them do cameo appearances in other books?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that more and more. And we definitely did that in our most recent release. And I'm like, immediately the readers are like, oh my gosh, you know, whatever.
Speak up.
Sorry, the readers really like it. And
You don't know what it is, but trust us.
they really like the crossover. They like the crossover. They like the Easter eggs. They like to see the people. And what I told my co-author, who was not quite as sold on this, I was like, we need to pull in these characters. And what I kept telling her is, I'm like, this gives me something to sell. It is a marketing opportunity where I can say, hey, remember this guy, he's over here, or remember this location. And so, or this location, this person was in this new book, have you read the old where he was introduced? So all of that is like a free marketing opportunity just by putting names in your book. And I try to always drop, like, even if just my other stuff I don't write with my co-author, I'll try to put the name of like their schools or towns, or like maybe allude to something that happened in a prior, like if there was like a murder or a tragedy, I'll like make an allude, you know, just these little things so that the readers that are reading all of your stuff have that like sense of community, like sort of reader community. Yeah.
So familiarity makes readers feel nice. And okay, so talking about readers and feelings and familiarity, I want to come back to Ginna for a sec. So on Friday, when we're going to be sitting at a table, and so how do you actually like? What are you going to do when I come up to the table and I'm the reader and I'm like trying to be here and not really make eye contact with you? What are you going to say to me? How are you going to
start with the hi? What do you like to read?
Oh well, I like romance.
I said, perfect. I write romance. I like romance. What kind of romance do you like? Oh, do you like paranormal, contemporary? Have you heard of Omegaverse?
No, I haven't. What's Omegaverse?
Okay, Omegaverse is a new hot genre. Well, it's not new, but it's new. But Omegaverse is...
Explanation goes here.
Yes, this is your explanation. So you have the hierarchies of alpha, beta, omegas. And it can be paranormal, it can be contemporary. I write contemporary. So I go into that with the readers. And that's when I bring out my handy-dandy brochure. And this is important. I have a brochure that has every single one of my series. I have over 80 books. So
You need a brochure.
I don't sell based on what my book is about. I sell based on what to expect in my book. So in Naughty Lessons, do you like age gap? Yes. I'm like, oh, okay, I have 3 age gap books. Do you like steamy, super steamy? And I was okay, I have this is super steamy, but if they want slow burn, I also have slow burn. So with this brochure, I can basically give them bullet points of what to expect, and that sells the book compared to just dishing out, oh, my book is about a girl who goes to this university, who goes with these professors type of deal. So, and also in this brochure, I have QR codes. And my QR codes are, I'm excited this year. Amazon came out with their attributions for their advertising, so I have connected my attribution link specifically to this brochure so I can see exactly what resonates with my readers in person.
So what I'm
I
here
can learn what I need to work on.
So what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing you correctly, one is you start when I don't want to make eye contact because I don't know what to do. You start by asking me a question about what I like,
Yes.
and so it's an easy question for me to
People
answer.
are always nervous, so I have my list of mental questions that I fill in the blanks for them, and that gets them to talk, and then they tend to loosen up and relax and pick up the books at that point.
So the first thing I'm hearing is you open up by asking them questions,
Yes.
and second is after you get a few questions, you narrow their interest. Third, that I'm hearing, you're not afraid to then say, well, here is a book that matches that. You're not trying to pretend you're not there selling books.
Yeah, no, I am there to sell the books. Yes.
And also, you're making it easy for them in terms of, oh, and the final thing I'm hearing, you're selling not what the book is about, not the plot, you're selling the tropes.
Yes.
And for, especially for romance.
Yes.
I like it. Okay, I'm good.
That butter.
That's what I'm selling.
The butter.
We've got 15 minutes. Before I open it to the audience for questions, there's a quick question that I want to ask, because all of this sounds absolutely wonderful and magical, what all of you ladies are doing, but I'm wondering if there is a hidden cost to all of this, and I don't mean a monetary cost. Like, Angel, you did this Kickstarter where you were supposed to send out a whole bunch of stuff. What's the behind? Can you tell? Can you? Yeah, briefly, and if others have something to share, could you? What is the hidden cost of stuff that you don't think about, but that's very real if you're going to do something like that?
So there's kind of two I can say now. One is my co-author Sam also does our graphics, and she is a graphics maven and is very controlling. So she lost, we had a book to write and a deadline, and I'm always on my deadlines. And we had to push back our last book release deadline, which was very unusual for me, but because we lost time with her in particular doing the graphics, and she has a very hard time juggling, different creative.
So emotional
energy, yeah.
Energy total.
And then we will be having the fulfillment part coming, and I cannot anticipate what that is going to be like. So get back with me next year.
But what are you going to have to do?
We're going to have to sign and package. I don't even know. Probably like 1,800 books plus the other things. And I cannot even quite get to that place yet until we get to that place to figure out exactly how that's going to happen.
What about the others? Anybody have like unexpected costs, or maybe expected but not like something impactful that people should know? Because it all sounds wonderful. I mean, Katie sounds wonderful. She doesn't even spend money. She just makes money. So yeah, all you have to do is wake up at 1 in the morning because you need to answer your Facebook messages 3 times an
It's
hour.
like that internal alarm goes off, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to message all these people. So yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
time.
What
You have
is
to
it?
dedicate so much time.
What about you, Britt?
So when you were saying earlier that for reasons, Britt was only able, publish 1 book this year. My first year I published 6 books, and it about broke my brain. This year I decided I'm not willing to sacrifice my kids, my husband, my life, my mental health is not worth that. So that is something that can affect anyone at any level in this business. So I think you always have to be aware of what expectations do your readers have for you, and are you being clear about what you can provide to them? Because they are not entitled to you and your time. You are a person, you are not a possession, you are not something that is just there all the time. You have to be able to have some balance, and I think that's smart.
Sustainability, especially a couple of weeks ago at the Romance South Mastermind, we talked a lot about sustainability. That's usually talked about in dark little corners, because especially when newer authors emerge and their books start to sell, or you have authors who are just emerging onto the market, and they don't want to hear that you have stress, and that you reached this milestone and you thought all your problems would be solved because you reached this amount of money, this tier, this level in a chart, and then you've reached it and you are more stressed than you've ever been. So especially for I know that the newer emerging writers, you don't believe a word I'm saying right now, but for the people who are a few years into this, remember there is these ladies did amazing things in 2022. There was a cost to everything they did. So please think of your career as a career. You want to be doing this in 2 years and 3 years and 5 years, and not just for the next 6 months. It just all we see on the Facebook side is that she had a Kickstarter that filled in 3 minutes. What we're not seeing is the stress and the deadlines and the pushing the book, and we're definitely not seeing right now her garage with 18,000. And with the post office, throwing a fit saying we're not picking that up, right? So all of those logistics you are not seeing. All you're seeing at a flash for the 3 seconds on Facebook is, man, that's awesome. I wish that was me without everything behind, without how much it's going to break you to write all those books. Without waking up at 1 in the morning because you can't not answer that comment. About all the authors that are going to give, because she's organizing, now she's also responsible for holding every author's hand because she brought him in. And, and I don't like what she said about my character. Ginna, you fix it. I know you
knowing and you have to be empathetic, and yes, it's difficult to work with groups.
So, what questions do we have? All right.
I'm curious on how people handle burnout. Not writer's block, but like what Britt was saying maybe. So burning out, like what do you do to help yourself get over writing multiple books? And you know what you're going to write next, however, you're just not feeling like writing anymore.
So I think I want to give this one to Britt, if that's okay. But before also, I want to point out that Becca Syme, who if you don't know, is an absolutely amazing human being who focuses on Clifton strengths, and burnout is one of her specific interests, so she will be doing a session on that. I highly recommend you go, because Britt is going to give an answer about her, which does not mean it is what would work for you, depending on the type of person you are, which you will all learn in Becca's workshops. But Bliss is an example. Well, I presume there was some burnout involved that you went from.
Yes.
So what were some decisions, what did you have to do?
So I had to tell myself, it's okay. It is okay to take a break and, just kind of work through this. I tried to focus on other aspects that wasn't putting stress on me, I have to get this many words in today. No, I don't. It's okay if I don't. Let me focus on, building my Patreon or doing TikTok Live or, something like that. As it went on, I did have an episode over the summer where I called my friend and I was like, I am never going to write again. Ever. Just nothing was exciting to me at that point, and that was scary as hell. That's my livelihood, that's my life. But I think I had to wait for the right idea. I cannot write a book that I am not excited to write. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this would probably make me some good money, but I'm not excited about it. So it just can't do it.
And what Britt said in a very optimistic way, I think you'll also hear the problem with burnout is that you may not be writing the next book for a long time. And Britt, and the answer, what am I going to do to get out of it? The answer is you may not be getting out of it for a long time, so don't get into it, please. Do all of these things. Yes.
Seriously.
Because she made it great. She couldn't write the book, so she focused on other things until she could, and luckily within the year she was able to write it. So she had to pivot. Are you high adaptability? Yeah. She pivoted to what else she could do because she couldn't, but that's scary. All right, yes.
I just have a question about reader magnets. Do you guys offer them to get newsletter signups, and what sort of cookie do you offer, either at the front end as a cold reader or at the end of the book where you're
so reader magnets to build lists. Who here is a big email lists?
So in the front of my books, and y'all stole this from somebody else. In the front of my books, we have our our author's notes with our trigger warnings and stuff because it is dark romance. And then at the bottom of that first page, I have, here's the link to my Facebook page. And then a link to, right there, this is our website, where you can find extra content all around. And then at the end,
At the end of the book?
at
or
the end of the, that's at the beginning of the book.
Okay, that's at the beginning.
And then at the end of the book, we do this again, and we just sort of drive them to, I don't have a specific link to, say, the book funnel. We drive them to the website, and then we bring you in there. And some people miss it, but they usually either get in the Facebook group and then they find out about it, or they get on into the website.
So you're not really leveraging magnets.
Well, then on the website they sign up for the magnet.
Oh, they sign up on the
and
magnet.
that's when I'll link them into the news. So there's sort of is a couple steps, and I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but the readers we just do free bonuses, and we just keep adding them in, and we send them out as surprises. Like we'll do it for Christmas or like a character's birthday or something crazy.
So it's not just one magnet, like it's almost a community that you keep feeding with little tidbits for them to come and also
right.
to
So
stay.
it's in the book as well as in the group, and then the readers talk about it, and we put it on social media, so it's sort of just like a constant.
Use it as Yes.
I have a question about pre-orders. Do you guys ever have a book done and ready to go just to be edited and then set pre-order?
No.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Do you guys write until your deadline, or do you or are you asking whether pre-orders are a good idea?
No, so I have back-to-back pre-orders, and it's starting to get me to burn out, like with Britt. So what I was thinking about next year is to have a series ready to go, and then start promoting it and doing the pre-orders, and then just putting them out.
Okay, all right, I think that, okay, so I'm just gonna rephrase the question. So do you hoard books so that on a schedule, or do you release as you finish? Please.
I have gone away from instant gratification. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, my book's done, let's put it out, let's make money. I sit on books for a long time sometimes.
Okay.
I've had 9 books ready to go, and I sat on them and released them over a year. And I think it really helps mentally. I really, really hate deadlines. They terrify me. I recently had a deadline and I was like, I'm not doing it ever again. So I do write the first 1 or 2 books before I even put up pre-orders. And then that's when I start my marketing plan and get it out there.
And I'm the total opposite from that.
Okay, well, you know what, I think you're recovering from burnout right now, so
true.
We are using you as a case example of what you do when you've gone to a place you shouldn't have gone to begin with, and how to make it right, and how to pivot that and turn that into an amazing career. But so
I have never experienced burnout. I've been publishing for 8 years, over 80 books, and it's through this management that I do.
now, would you, let me ask, would you agree that if you have a series, that it's important to have the next book in a series on pre-order when you release the previous one, whether or not it means hoarding or not? Now, you say no, you say yes? You'd say yes?
I have made that mistake of not having it on pre-order,
Okay, and what
and I
happened?
will not do that again. Probably lost half of the sell-through.
Yeah.
So I used to do pre-orders, and I still do some pre-orders. It just causes me a lot of stress, anxiety, burnout. And as I was telling you, I literally would be writing a full book in 3 days. So I don't do a lot of pre-orders anymore, especially, and it's all about the reader loyalty, as I was saying. They'll still make the top 100 all of Amazon with no pre-order. I'll still, get good sales. Maybe I'll do better if I have a pre-order, but I'm not going to risk my mental health for
it. So I want to point out an important distinction before they said. They did not say contradictory things, even though one author says, I always have a pre-order, and the other says I don't. She said that for my business reason, I'm going to wait until, whether that means she's holding on to the book or she means she's planned it, but she's always going to have a link. She made a business decision. She made a mental health decision. She's saying, I'm not saying this is the best business, but I'm saying for me and for my sustainability of my business, that is the smart decision. So notice it's not, whatever you want. It's, you're always paying with something. right?
I don't
Whether
always
it's time or
orders on
money.
new series.
On new series.
I just
no.
get a 1 week just to
Pre-order.
get everything up.
This is the best business, but I'm saying for me and for my sustainability of my business, that is the smart decision. So notice it's not, whatever you want. It's you're always paying with something. You can mob these ladies. I just want to make sure everyone remembers. We're